Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. We are on the air. This is Thesis.
3, 2, 1. We are on the air. This is Thesis. Everything is everything. I am your host, Jay Marie. How's it going out there, folks? Hope you're doing well. Thank you for showing up and hanging out with us today. Coming to you live from Zombie Land. Yes, sir. Well, I hope you find yourself well and healthy and safe. I thank you again for showing up and checking in on us. As we've been a little busy, so it took me an extra week to get back with you guys, but I am here and we are ready to rock as we always are. Real quick, for all you new listeners, welcome. And also, if you have not yet hit the subscribe button on Spotify, please do so. Give us a rating if you like the show. That really helps us. And also, if you have not yet went over to our YouTube channel, please go over there and check out some of our videos there. We have clips from the shows, we have motivational stuff, and I also got my thesis films projects on there that you can see. So go over there and check us out. All the links are in the show notes. That's it. All right, well, let's get started. So I think for those of you who've been around for a while, kind of know how we like to do things around here. We like to look at the issues that are happening around us, and we'll talk about them, but in a manner that's not too direct. We reach to the writings of the philosophers and the scriptures and the religions and the history books and stuff to kind of get a better idea and figure out what exactly is going on. So these times that we're in right now are crazy, as they always are, and one thing that we can probably always count on is that there will be war. So we're going to talk about war. Now, we're not going to talk about a specific war or anything that's happening right now or anything that happened recently, or some of that stuff might come up in examples and stuff, but we're going to look at war in a different way. Because there's always a lot of questions when war breaks out. People take sides, and who's right and who's wrong and why are the reasons, and land and territory, or religious reasons, or beefs that go back to, times when, the Soviet Union or whatever. There's beefs and within nations, not within nations, there's beef between nations that go back a long time. Mankind, there's always been war. There's always been conquering. There's always been these things, right? But we're in a modern society, and in a modern society, war is usually left, to final resort, last resort, when there's an invasion or issues that have to be looked to, but by using military force, right? So war. People ask, like, will war ever be like, can we ever make war extinct? Like, can we get to a place where war will never exist, right? We have people who search for peace and are anti-war, and we don't like wars for the sake of war. Those of us who understand it a little bit, probably, we know that it has to happen sometimes, right? So war, we're going to look at war in a way that probably hasn't been looked at before. Maybe it has, but we're going to do things in a different manner here. Because we want to know if war is a good thing or not, right? Because those are the questions that we ask ourselves when war is happening. Is it a good thing? Why is it happening? Who's right? Who's wrong, right? There's got to be someone that's right or wrong. Is war in and of itself wrong? Is war evil in and of itself? People die, things get destroyed, right? Buildings and death and mayhem. It's horrible, right? So is war evil? It's kind of like one of the questions, because people say war is evil. We live in a modern society where we can live amongst each other and stuff without killing each other and stuff. But when war happens, it's like all the rules are thrown out, right? So is war evil? Can we get to a place where the war doesn't exist? It's that when we look at the let's look at the human body. It's a pretty amazing thing. It's that when we're gonna use our imagination, and we're gonna have to use our imagination for this a little bit, but we're gonna walk through it together. Okay, human body is you're one, you're an individual, you're independent, you're not attached to anything else physically, right? You're independent, whatever. So you're one, right? You're a unit, right? You're an organism, a separate organism from me and from everybody else, right? From the animals and everything. You're an independent organism. And when we look at the body, we can kind of, all right, because we're going to talk about war, right? So let's look at the body. The body is kind of like a kingdom. Okay, the skin, our skin acts like a barrier between our body and the outside world, the world that's around us, right? The first uh like a kingdom has a wall around it, right? We've all read stories of the kings of old, and they build a kingdom and castle and whatever, and they have a wall around it. Okay, well, our kingdom, our body has a wall around it, and it's our skin. And the first thing that our skin does is protect us from the elements around us, you know that's from the viruses and the pathogens and the diseases and microbes and whatever's around us, because it's everywhere. We can't see it, but they're everywhere, right? So this kingdom of ours has a wall around it, right? But that kingdom, when you think about the human body, right, there's a lot of moving parts, right? Just a lot of moving parts. But there's so many different things that we can look at it as a self-sustaining ecosystem almost. I mean, you need to eat food and stuff like that, but that food is converted into energy, right? And the waste is taken out and disposed of. There's repairs being done to when the wall gets broken, because you got a cut or whatever, that wall got broken. They send, the body sends out cells, but let's think of cells like little humans or whatever. They sends out the little humans and their machinery and everything to seal up that puncture in the wall. When we get a cut, it starts clotting and this and that, right? Then the skin starts building after a while. Then after a few weeks, the skin is completely sealed and you have a scar, right? So it's like cells got little jobs to do. There's cells that are in the blood. They're there all the time. They're going through our stream all the time, going through every part of our body. We have different types of cells that do different type of things. Some are like little construction workers. Some are, constantly out there being vigilant, looking for viruses or, diseases or those type of things. There's others that are, that are like fighters. We got the T cells and the red blood cells and the white blood cells and all these things, all kinds of different cells. There's so many, probably too many to name, that do and have different aspects of what their job is, right? And then we have different like little buildings, the glands and the organs, and the organs do certain things. So the little cells that work in those organs, they got their duties that they got to do, right? And everything. So this self-sustaining, it's ecosystem, a little kingdom with the walls and everything. It's like it has its soldiers, it has its refineries, and it has its energy production, and it has all these parts, like a city, like a town, like a little nation, right? As this, so all right, so when we're in the bloodstream, there's these cells that have their jobs, they're constantly out there. The body is constantly looking for intruders, looking for viruses and germs that can make their way in. Because look, the first protection in our body is the skin. That's the wall. But the skin is porous, and then sometimes we might get a cut and those things. So germs might make their way in. Little microbes might make their way in once we get a cut, or through our what we eat, or through what we breathe, or whatever, right? So our body has defenses that keeps away germs and pathogens and diseases and stuff like that, right? It's constantly looking for those things through the bloodstreams, like little Like I said, if we can imagine that cells are like little people or whatever, there's little people that are walking down the halls constantly looking around for, oh, this doesn't belong here, right? This thing, this other little person, because these other little cells and viruses and stuff are like cells and stuff too. Some of them, they look different and this and that, but we have defenses that are walking through the hallways of our body, through the streets of our body, looking around for what's out of place, what doesn't belong there. This virus, these things, the reason why we call them viruses and germs and stuff is because when they go inside the body, they start attacking certain cells, or they have a mission too. They all have their purpose, just like the cells that are within our body that protect and rebuild our skin or whatever. Pathogens and germs and all that stuff, they have a thing. They have to survive also, right? So they attack certain parts. They might attack certain cells and take over them, or attack certain parts of the body and just attach themselves to whatever, right? So these hall monitors, these street monitors, these like little cops that are driving down the streets in our body, down the freeways, are seen, and they can say, oh man, look at this, what's going on? Because all of a sudden down this road here, there's a bunch of these weird looking people, right? We're talking like cells and people and all this, right? So we're kind of mixing it all up. So the hall monitor sees these germs and says, whoa, who are these? What are y'all doing here? He sends out signals. They're not, it's not got radio, but the cop calls, hey, I have a problem here. Or the people call, hey, I saw somebody breaking into my neighbor's house. The body has defenses like that. It sends out signals through the bloodstream, these little hall monitors, these little police officers. They send a signal, and all of a sudden, since the blood is flowing back and forth, the signal gets to the right place, different glands and different whatever, depending on the situation, how big the situation is. When if it's only one little germ and it's not that, it hasn't grown that much, it hasn't reproduced that much or whatever, then okay, we have a certain squad that can handle that, right? Certain cells that we have, since this one is not that strong, it's a regular, it's a kind of like a cold virus. It's not that strong. We can send this team, they can handle it. They'll go and attack it, and they'll, they wipe out the virus. They wipe out the germs, then the whatever's carrying the, it's like this invader that got through the wall because I had a cut and I didn't wash it or whatever. That little invader started attacking a certain part of the body, and the body responded by sending little police officers to attack. It wasn't that much of a big deal. So they send a squad that can handle it. But in the meantime, the body starts looking around. Oh, these guys got in. Let's make sure that the wall is. Let's make sure that where the breach was, where we got our cut or whatever. Right? Let's send up and make sure that it's sealed up correctly, and also send out and make sure no other people got in, right? Because there were, this group of germs got in and started, whatever they were doing, it was messing up this balanced system. The reason why we have these defenses is because to get to where we are alive and staying alive and all that, it takes a balance. It takes a balance of we have, different things that live in our gut, and there's little mites that are real tiny that live on our skin, and they help eat some of the little germs and stuff. But then some of those little tiny mites can carry viruses and stuff like so there has to be a balance on this. Remember this kingdom, right? This state, this kingdom, whatever, there's a balance that's held. To be alive, there's balance has to be held, because if those germs didn't get taken care of, right, if my immune system isn't strong enough or whatever, then those germs are going to keep duplicating and invading other cells and duplicating and keep growing and whatever. Then the problem becomes bigger and bigger, right? So the body is prepared for that constantly. That's like a little war. When there's an invader from outside of the walls that protect us, when there's something that comes in to our body that doesn't balance out with everything else that's in our body, with the different whatever. There's all kinds of, there's a billion moving parts in our body at one point, but there's a balance. It's like an ecosystem balance there. And when something invades, when a virus invades, it throws that out of balance, right? Because this virus is going to attack a certain thing, a certain, and then imagine a certain virus that attacks an important part of the body, a gland, or the eyes, or what I'm saying. So the body has to be ready to defend itself uh, all the time. And there's little battles happening all the time, whether you see them or not. Right now, when they're happening, when we get a flu or whatever, we get fever and all these things are help to defend the body from these viruses. It turns up the heat because, hey, some viruses get killed with the heat, and they destroy, the T cells and the white blood cells and the red blood cells, whatever, all these things, they go when they find the enemy and they destroy it. There's no quarter. There's none of that. Because those pathogens, those viruses, those germs or whatever, they need a home, and they're going to multiply. And the reason why our body fights them off is because whatever is in them over the millions and billions of years of evolution, whatever is in them, that little code of whatever's in that virus is not good for us. So the body says, we already know that this thing is not good for us. So we need to fight it. We need to eliminate it from our body. We need to attack it. We need to develop defenses against things like this that invade our body, because things like this can turn into cancer, or can turn into liver disease, or can turn into all kinds of diseases, right? So if our body isn't prepared to fight these battles, these wars that are constantly happening every day, what happens to our body, right? It can deteriorate and things can happen. We might have, all kinds of things can happen to our body, right? We can get amputations or whatever, right? Because of disease and whatever, our lungs, all kinds of things. Now imagine a body. Well, we all seen stories and heard stories of immune deficiency and this, that. So imagine a body, a nation, a kingdom, right, with the walls and everything, that constantly has breaches of the walls constantly, and the defense mechanism inside the walls aren't as keen, aren't as strong, aren't as fit to fight against these diseases, right? Because the body, whatever we don't eat, right, whatever these things are that can make our things, right, make our body not produce the right amount of, because we're not eating certain vitamins or whatever it may be, right? Imagine our body, a kingdom that can't defend, that won't defend its, because there's viruses coming in. And a body like that has an immune deficiency. It doesn't fight off, because it doesn't produce the right amount of, these little soldiers, or these little, like the cells of the little people. It doesn't produce enough of them to go fight. And if it does, they're not strong enough. They're weak. Something in there, because the glands that produce them or whatever in that factory, right? The glands are like the factories of some of these. It's the coding that goes inside the nucleus of these, the coding is the brain, and the nucleus is the brain of these cells. The coding is something's wrong there somewhere. Something happened to where these soldiers, these fighters that are supposed to fight off these viruses that are coming in and attacking the body, they're just not doing it. Right now, sometimes we've probably heard of when the body fights off too much and it's actually attacking itself. We've heard of those type of diseases too. So whatever the problems are, there's a constant battle. But when we're looking at the invading armies of germs, invading armies of viruses and diseases into the body, you see that the body has to defend itself against these things, because if they're not good, they're gonna infect, they're gonna multiply, they're gonna cause harm in this balanced ecosystem that is this kingdom. Our body is an ecosystem that's balanced, right? And then sometimes cancer, right? There's like certain cells that you know, mutate or have a wrong coding in it, and they reproduce, and they, you know, they reproduce. So that each time they reproduce, that coding is there. So the more it reproduces, the more of that foul, right, coding in the nucleus of those cells keeps growing and growing, and they start infecting the ones that are near them, the next ones that are next to them, kind of like start rubbing off on them, right? So those type of things, like the body, it's really hard to fight off, because some of those invading things, like, you know, cancer and some of these things are really aggressive. So the body has a harder time fighting off, you know, some of these things. And like, you know, so these, like when we look at the human body, you know, before medicine or whatever, these invading things, these cancers and these viruses and these pathogens and these diseases and whatever, they invade the body and they take over the body. And if we don't have right medicines, and we didn't have all these things, the hospitals and stuff, those things, and if our body's immune system wasn't strong enough to fight off these invaders, and they usually, you know, the people used to die at a higher rate because there was no medicine. But the invading armies of these germs and viruses, that's basically, you know, maybe it's not in there. Maybe it's not in their direct coding, like, hey, go kill this thing that we're gonna, but that's where it leads, right? That coding in the germs, in the nucleus, in the brains of the germs and the cancer cells and these viruses and stuff, that coding, it's just all messed up, where it messes, where it leads to destruction. It leads to cancer, it leads to disease, it leads to amputations, it leads to, you know, failure of organs and blindness, and it leads to things, right? So the body needs to fight these things off, because the body needs to survive. You know, its main reason is to survive and to reproduce and to be productive in life, but we can't do anything else if we're not alive, right? So the body fights constantly, uh, every day, all day, battles, big battles, little battles, with the germs and the viruses and stuff that are invading our body. It's like a war, you know. But right, like in that war, who's right or wrong? Well, the body is right, because it's trying to protect itself from this invading species of virus, this invading pathogen, this invading thing that's coming into our body and trying to corrupt and you know, the damage, and do this thing, do these damages and stuff to our body, because that's what it does. That's what germs do. That's what disease does. That's what pathogens do. That's in their coding already. So that's what their job is. Their job is to come in and to destroy and throw this balance off. Because remember, if they were good for our body, it would come in and, oh, hey, welcome, come here, yeah, become part of our body, right? Because we do have things in our gut, and like I said, the little mites, so we're like a symbiotic, and you know, our body is symbiotic with a lot of different little mites and different things, right? And so the body would welcome it if it was a good thing, these germs or whatever. It would say, oh, hey, look, hey, we got some friends over here, welcome to the party, join us, become part of us, right? But no, what does it do? It says, who's this guy? What are they doing here? Hey, the wall is broken because we got a cut. They're invading. It's like a, you know, because I rolled around in the dirt and there was a lot of germs, so uh-oh, you know, if I didn't wash it off or whatever, the cut with the dirt, if I left it there, then there's a breach. And at the breach, there's like a truckloads of germs coming in. So the body can send all the defenses and say, hey, we need to stop this, right? So then me, like, I need to wash that thing off and then cover it, right? So the germs won't get in. That's why we wash. That's why we say, like, wash when you cut yourself, wash the wound and then make sure it's covered. We cover it so to keep the germs away and to let the healing process begin, right? So as soon as our body sees the invaders, they go and they destroy them, right? Because they're not welcome, right? Because if they would have been welcome, we just went over that. If they would have been welcome, they would already be a part. There would be, you know, methods of them joining our kingdom, right, our unit or whatever, and becoming part of whatever it is that we, do, and whatever it is that we need. But the body knows already what's good for it and what's not. Nature, mother nature, whatever, the coding in the DNA or whatever, already knows that certain visitors are not good for this body, and we need to, get rid of them. And it's doing that every day, constantly, like 24 hours a day, you know? You know, when one of the most beautiful things about nature is that it shows us so much about ourselves, but it's really kind of hard to see. We just walk through like this little kingdom of ours, and we kind of painted a picture, right? So Mother Nature shows us things that are relative, and yeah, uh, to to what, to how we live, and how our cities are built, right? And how our freeways work, right? The hallway, right? The cells going down the hallway, the cells going down the freeway looking for pathogens, right? It's almost the same like a neighborhood. The police goes down the neighborhood and looks around, right? So these things can be shown to us. Now, Mother Nature, war happens in nature constantly. Different types of battles. The lions are searching for food and stuff. Not quite like war, but there's something there. Uh, the herds that invade other territories and stuff, and there'll be battles. The apes, the monkeys, they have it out. They have their territories that they've, and they'll defend their territories, viciously, right? So Mother Nature shows us a lot about ourselves if we're willing to look. And one of the most vicious uh, animals in the animal kingdom is, well, the insect kingdom, the ants. Um, the thing about ants is, like, we call them colonies. They got the ant colonies, right? They got the queen and the workers and the servants, and then they have the different uh, ants and the people, right? Let's kind of do the same thing what we did with the cells. They got the different ants. They got the different little people that do their job. They got the queen. She lays all the eggs, and then she has the court, the royal court that protects her and watches over her. Then she has a whole bunch of other little servant ants that keep that, when she's laying the eggs, they move the eggs and they keep them, they keep watch over them like nursemaids. You know what I'm saying? Now they got workers and builders and tunnelers and defenders and security guards and like ants that are looking out for invaders and stuff like that, right? They're walking through the hall. So as this little this little mound, right? This as the uh these mounds or colonies, and there's different sizes of ants and different kinds of ants and different stuff. But these colonies of ants, they're almost like a self-sustaining, also kind of like the way the human is. It's a self-sustaining ecosystem in this mound. They have workers that bring food in, and then they reproduce, and then they have tunnelers and stuff. And then sometimes they have to move from location because there's no food around, or they already ate all the food, or there's no water, so they might have to find them, and they pack everything up and they go. And you see them marching along, hundreds and thousands of them. You can see the videos on Natural Geographic and stuff. You see them marching along, and all along the way there, you see them making like little trenches and hallways where they're all walking, and they all know where to go because they speak through chemicals that they leave a trail, and this way, this is where we're going, this is where the new house is at, right? So as they're going, you see the defenders, and you see the ones that are looking out to make sure there's no, you know so it's like everybody has their little job in the mound, right, in the colony. And one of the things about ants is, so they, when they make a colony, they can reach out to different ants have different distances that they reach out and stuff, but they claim a territory that's usually, distance away from their mound enough to where they go out and search for food, like in a radius. They go out in a circle and they're like, this is our territory, you know, and they'll eat bugs and they'll eat whatever's in there. And, but then there'll be, you see another colony down the way, like at the park, or you see another ant colony over there, another ant colony. Hey, they all survive. They all found the balance in the distance that they're in the distance that they live away from each other. There's enough food over here for our colony. There's enough food over there for their colony. We're cool. We don't even mess with each other because they're just enough far away from us that they don't interfere with what we got to eat or our water or anything like that. And the thing about ants is, like, all they know is eat. All they know is, they know how to build and all this stuff, but when it comes to, like, defending the colony or going to war, like, with another colony, all they know is kill. Like, there is no, in the insects, there's like, it's crazy. Like, if they happen to, if two ant colonies happen to cross each other's path, see, they're cool with each other. Ants, there's something awesome about ants. It's like they're cool. They don't care. Like, if there's a bug that doesn't move and they crawl over it and he doesn't move, they're cool. Like, oh, he ain't no danger. He ain't nothing. So they only know when something's moving. They can figure out if it's food or if it's danger, this and that. What they need to do, they can figure it out. As the when they feel it out, but it's not moving. Like, I don't know what this is, right? So ants are cool. If they don't ever cross each other's path, they're cool. Like, they have no issue. You're over there, I'm over here. We never happen to see each other. You can cross each other's path, but as long as they don't bump into each other, like, a little elbow, like, oh, who's this guy? Then there's trouble, right? Because when that happens, they both will let out a trail of scent that says, hey, something's up over here. We have an invader, right? Because, hey, this colony says this guy is in our territory, and then maybe that colony says, oh, hold him up, that guy's in our territory. So they're both gonna fight. Now, different ants are very aggressive. Like, some are like, I don't know the names of them, but some are just, army ants or whatever. They're big and they just go and they just destroy. So when something like that happens, and the aggressive ants sense that somebody, oh, this guy wandered in, like, they're just hanging out, they're doing their thing. This guy kind of just wandered into their place, and then the security ants, remember that I told you everybody had different jobs, they're hanging around there. They see this guy and they're like, who's this guy? They go smell him and touch him or whatever, and oh no, and he takes off, because usually, they're never really alone. They're, they send them out in packs and they might be a little bit separate, but there'll be some more nearby. Right? So they say, oh, look, we got an invader. Who is this guy? They see him, they size him up. They say, nah, he ain't from us, whatever. And boom, hey, go see if he has any homeboys, right? And then the ants will go. And man, if these ants, right, there's different kinds, but if these ants find their way, because they're gonna, if they might put up a fight, these guys that showed up, and they're gonna put up a fight because that's what ants do. But they can also retreat. They'll retreat if they see that they're losing, because they need backup. They need to let the signal out because they're too far away for the signal to get to their homies. So we need somebody to get away to let everybody know that we're having a fight over here. Because these guys, what they're going to do is they're going to call their friends and they're going to attack us. And not only that, they're going to follow us home. So at this point, it's go time, right? So this dude running back to tell his friends, we just got attacked by these big ass ants, dude. Like, they're big. We tried to hold them off. A couple of them dudes got, Frank got his limbs torn off, man. I barely made it out of there. Prepare for battle. Oh my God. So amazing. Because the bigger ants, the fire ants or whatever, they're going to say this way. They're going to call all their friends, and food. What they see is food. The only thing that's important to the colony is survival and perpetuation of the species, right? Of the colony. so we can survive and keep going. We need food, we need things. That's all they know is survive. So when they say, oh my God, look, there's another nest, there's another little town nearby of a bunch of smaller, weaker, ants, people, and they can't really fight. So you know what? Plunder time, baby. War time, baby. Boom. They come in, and these ants, man, you'd be so amazed. You got to check out some of this stuff. They'll put up fight at the entrance of the ton of the mound, whatever the main entrance. There's probably several entrances. Some of them they'll start blocking off certain entrances, and when the queen, when they get, hey, they're coming. All the helpers around the queen. Some of them they'll build like a little wall around the queen of little mud, and they fill it with saliva so it turns like a little cement, a little wall of cement around the queen to protect it because they're coming, and the hallways get filled up, the streets get filled up with soldiers and ready to fight, and these battles go on at the gate of the city, at the entrance of the mound of the colony. They're fighting there because if we could stop them there, then it's cool. Then they won't make it in. But as soon as they make it in, it changes the whole game. So the colony has to defend itself. It has to be prepared at its exits, and the colony and the fighter ants, the ones that are made to fight, firsthand, like the soldiers that come up in the front and whatever, they all fight. But there's some that fight, like the soldiers and the cops. They're more prepared, like, right, than the regular average citizen. Same thing with the ants. They have these ants that are ready to rock and roll, and when the invader comes, they go to work. They go to work, and it's as the invaders come in. This colony knows, they're ants. They know what ants do. They know if we don't put up a fight, we're dead. Our babies are dead. Our future is dead. The colony is gone. Everything that we've worked for, everything that the queen worked for, sometimes they live for long amount of time. Like, I'm not gonna, they live a long amount of time. It's all gone. If these invaders make it in, it's over, because they're gonna take our babies, the eggs, and they're gonna take our storage of food. They're gonna kill all of us. So they put up a fight because they know it's a fight to the death. There is no, I surrender. Okay, let's break it up. Now, my bad. In some instances, if the two groups of ants aren't big enough, like, they can get to a stalemate where they'll leave each other alone. But when it's an invading army, when it's an invading colony, it's all systems go, because they're not here to hang around. They're not here to integrate. They're not here to, hey, we want to be a part of your colony. That's not what they're here for. They're here to invade. They're here to plunder. They're here to kill and steal and take your babies and the food that you have stored. And they're here to destroy your colony. And they're going to keep coming in until there's nothing left. Everything's going to be gone. Ants leave nothing to waste. They don't leave scraps. They don't leave anything behind. Everything. They take the dead soldiers' bodies away. They take it back because those things will come in handy for food and for the larvae and for the babies. And in that world, in that kingdom of the ant kingdom, it's that's it. It's life or death. There is no in between. There is no bargaining. The invaders are at the door. The ants need to put up a fight, because it is over if they don't. And in some instances, it will be over, because usually an invading army, is very aggressive, and they're used to, plundering and taking over colonies that are of smaller ants, that are weaker ants, because that's just, nature just does that, because it's about survival and the perpetuation of the species. And even in between, even in the war between the different colonies in the jungle, remember, there's billions of them throughout the world. billions of colonies of ants everywhere happening right now. These wars, these ant wars are happening right now somewhere in the world, a million times over. So even in that ecosystem of all these warring, you know, colonies, tribes, mounds, cities, whatever we want to call them, they find a balance because they're warring to find that balance. Because you know what? In this area, there's too many mounds, not enough food. So some of these mounds gotta go. Nature says it and does it, to achieve a balance. And once there's that balance, hey, this one powerful, strong, ant colony that's made, they're strong and they're big and they're whatever, and they prepare and they whatever they do, it survived and it took out all the things. Now there's balance in the area. Now there's balance in that, in that perimeter, in that wherever that distance that these ants live in, there's a balance there now. But it didn't get to that balance without these wars, without these colony invading their neighbors, because if it's not them, it would have been somebody else, right? So it has to continue to happen to occur balance. Now, who's right? Who's wrong in those instances? Right? Which ant pile was right? Right? So those wars, can we say who's the good one or who's the bad guy? Right? Because it's all about balance. They can both be the good guy or the bad guy. Now, when we look at let's look at the earth, right? We can look at, we're here, nations and all these things, but let's look at the earth as that self-sustaining ecosystem, right? Like the body, or like the ant colony, right? The earth. Because these things translate. It can be like a nation, self-sustaining colony, a nation, a city, a state. Then we can go big, right? The earth, right? So when we look at the earth as like the unit that we were looking at earlier, like the human body, it's an ecosystem that has a billion moving parts and things that do, and animals eat grass because the grass needed to be trimmed, right? So the earth developed animals that ate grass and then whatever, right? So the earth is right now, there's a billion moving parts, all kinds of things happening, the wars in the ants piles, and then the trees are growing, all these things are happening all at once. So if we look at the earth like a human body, and humans and animals and all these things are like cells that were kind of like the cells that were inside the body, because humans, we have purpose, right? Some of us build, some of us remove waste, or some of us whatever, right? So we all have a purpose in life, and at the same time we're reproducing, like the cells in the body, like constantly reproducing. And of course, like the ant colony is constantly building nests and making eggs, and because of the perpetuation of the species, right? So we can look at all these things kind of similarly, right? The earth, we're all like, if we kind of zoom out, and we're all like these cells that we all have our duties to do and stuff like that, right? Let's look at wars in that nature, the wars of the world, the wars between nations or whatever. How do we distinguish what is right and what is wrong? Is there a right and wrong in war, like in the colonies of ants fighting it out, or in the body with the defense of the body is defending itself from certain cells and from certain diseases and stuff that don't, right, that throw things off of balance, right? These diseases, these cells that invade the body, throw it off the balance, so the body fights it off, right? The ants and stuff fight each other off to find balance in the area, in the jungle, in their territory, in the space that they occupy. Right? So when we look at the earth, we have nations, we have peoples, right? If you zoom out, you know, nations do good, they build, they feed, they perpetuate ideals, you know, we're looking into space, doing good things, right? You know, so what, you know, what makes that balance? Like, what can we get to that balance? Like in the jungle, or in the balance of the body, you know, uh how can the earth find that balance? Right? That's if we imagine humanity like cells on the body of the earth, you know, we're helping the earth, we've got to maintain it, we're the earth, you know, we have to do things for it, right? If we don't treat it right, it'll, you know, it's that. So when we look at it that way, are there people, are there nations, are there ideals that do harm to earth? And not just to earth, but to the rest of, you know, the cells, like the cells that invaded the body, right? They're going to do harm. Are there cells on earth, are there people that do harm? Like one little virus, you know, one little, you know, germ that got through, and it's just one. Hey, he can be handled. One or two little germs that got through, it can be handled. Even a little pile of germs that got through the wall or whatever, they can be handled. But what about millions of germs? What if you cut yourself and you stick your hand in the creek water? That'll be an invasion of disease and germs and pathogens and viruses into the body, a lot of it, right? So the body will have a huge war on its hands at that moment, right? So when we look at nations, when we look at the earth, when we look at the balance of the world, whatever state it may be in, whether it was 1,000 years ago before technology or now, there's gonna be a balance. There has to be a balance, because like the cells, there are some cells, there are some germs, there are some pathogens that destroy, that harm, that that plunder and loot and rob and whatever. They everything they touch, they infect. Right? How does the body know? How does the body know that that germ is not right? How does it know? How does it know? It just knows that that germ, that thing doesn't belong here. It doesn't think properly. It's not behaving. Hey, it's not a cell like the other cells. Like I'm the little cell that's going down the hallway, looking around, looking for whatever, looking for disease and stuff. I know automatically by the behavior of that germ, of that pathogen, of the whatever. I know automatically that that thing is not good for this surrounding, for this house, for this this kingdom of ours, right? I'm a cell going through the hallways protecting it. That thing is not good for this kingdom, because it'll throw everything off balance, and we're gonna have to fight it if we let it in. And because he's gonna bring his homeboys in, he's gonna reproduce, and he's gonna cause havoc in this system that's balanced, this body, this kingdom that has found its balance because of the constant wars and the constant protection that it's doing every day. Just like in the colony of the ants, they're constantly looking for food and constantly protecting itself and its territory and everything. The body does the same thing. Now, how about the earth? When we look at the earth, let's imagine the earth, the people and the nations. Are there any peoples? Are there any nations that all they do is cause harm and disease and destruction? Is there any nations? Is there any cells on earth that's all they do? And how do we know if they're good or not? How do we know if they're good or not? We should be able to see it right away, just like the cells in the body see that it's an invader, because it knows the behavior. It says that behavior is not good for this balance, for this ecosystem. It knows automatically, the body knows. How do we know? How should we know? How should we see? And what should we do to be able to see in our society? Because we're them little cells that are going down the thing. We're like the ants. How do we know? How do we know when something or someone doesn't belong? It's going to be shown, just like the virus. It has its signals and its behavior and the way it looks and the way it acts. It's automatic. The body knows it by the way it looks, by the way it smells, by the way it already knows. Why? Because the body hasn't. This is not the first virus that has came into the body. This is not the first virus. This is not the first pathogen. The body has seen this before. The body has memory. It has memory cells that know, like them little cops that are going on the hallway. I remember them dudes when they came last time. They messed everything up. We had to go to the hospital. Therefore, as soon as I see these guys, I'm taking them out. That's what the cell in the body says. And he calls his homeboys, the T cells, the whatever. We have all, they call them up for backup. Why? Because we know the body remembers that this particular form of cell, of being, of code that it has inside of its nucleus, the way it reproduces, the way it does whatever it does, the body automatically knows that that thing is not good for it. Automatically. So the earth, that's why there's battles all the time. That's why there's wars. It's it's a lot had to do with us and how we live ourselves and all that stuff. But wars are gonna constantly happen because someone is right and someone is wrong. And if there was no good people, if there was no good nations, the West, we call it the West, if there wasn't these nations that say, hey, we gotta at least try to have some semblance of defense for the earth, for the body of the earth, right? When there's a pathogen that's spreading, like through Germany, there was a pathogen that spread and it started spreading to the colonies and to the organs that were next to it. And we saw it. The good people on the earth, the good cells, the T cells, the defender cells, the defender ants saw it and said, this has to be taken care of now, all the way, full steam ahead. No slow down. No, hey, let's work it out. No. Why? Because all together, the people saw and said, this has to be stopped. There's no coexisting with evil, right? The Germans, evil. Mussolini, evil. The Soviet Union, evil. There's no coexisting with that. Because just like the human body, if it doesn't defend when a virus is coming in, if it doesn't defend when the germs and the stuff invade, if imagine if your body, just pull everybody back, you're dead. Because that's what those things do. They cause destruction. They're not there to be friendly. It's an invader. The germs, the pathogens, all that, they're invading the body. And if the body doesn't fight it off, they're dead. The ant colony, they have invaders next door. They know, because they know they're ants too. They're going to do the same thing. If we let these guys come inside and we don't fight them off, we are dead. The ants know that. The body knows that. Do humans know that? How is our memory? Do we have memory cells? We have books and stuff that tell us all day long of these wars that have happened forever. And it's like nobody remembers. Nobody can ever think of anything. Nobody looks back. It's like always the brand new, this is the newest thing. Like this is all that happening right now. Like history doesn't exist. How are the humans supposed to know? How are the cells on the earth supposed to know, right? How do we know? We should automatically know what is good and what is evil. And evil can't be negotiated with. There's no negotiating with the T cells and the red blood cells. They do their job. And nobody tells them, oh, hey, you went too far, huh? Those ants that took out you went too far. What? This is about survival of what's right and what's good and the perpetuation of the species. War is necessary. War will always happen if we like it or not. The ants are prepared constantly. The body, if it's healthy, it's prepared constantly to fight wars, and it does fight wars every single day. The ant colonies fight wars often, and they're prepared. And look at us. When wars happen, we have people who say they don't want war, or there's they and then they protest, and then they're fighting with each other, and we don't understand. War is in this. War is gonna happen. Okay, we could call it evil because we're humans and we want peace, but it's necessary. Tell that to the ants. We think things different here. We look at things different because everything is everything. When we look at the cells in the body, when we look at the ants in the colony, when we look at the people in the nations and the people on earth, there is a good that has to be held. There is a balance that has to be held. And when there's a nation, when there's a people, when there's an ideology, when there's a whatever that all it does is destroy whatever it touches, all it does is plunder, this is part of its root of what it is, then that ideal, that thing, that nation, that cancer, that disease, that germ, that virus has to be destroyed for the betterment, for the sake of the rest of the body of the earth. For our cities, for peace and balance within our nations. Evil has to be fought face to face, head full steam ahead, no backing down. You don't negotiate with it. It has to happen. It will happen. Just like the ant farm, just like the ant colony. Some of these invaders throughout history are brutal and vile. They don't care about our norms. They will plunder and kill and steal. War is necessary. And you as a person, right? You are a kingdom, remember? Your body's prepared constantly. We all must be prepared. Like, wars are going to happen, right? One of the things that you hear anti-war people say, well, send your kids, or why don't you go fight them? Somebody's going to have to fight them. It's going to have to be me or you or whatever, the draft or whatever. Somebody's going to have to fight these wars. The ants don't cry about who has to go to war. The cells in the body don't cry about who has to go to war. They know what they have to do because they want to survive. Survival. That's what war is about. It's about survival. Now, if evil reigns, it will survive, and evil will reign over everything. If good wins and survives, good will reign over everything. So how do we know as people, how do we know as nations what is good and what is evil? What is right for the earth? What is good for the people, for our future, for humanity? How do we know? Well, we better know, and we better be ready. And we always got to be ready because we will always have to fight wars, always, always. And the better we are prepared to, fight a war in the defense of good and, liberty and these things that are at the heart of our, of what we are, then the earth there will be balance. There will be balance between nations. There will be balance on the earth. But it has to happen sometimes. There will never be a time. That's paradise. There will never be a time when war doesn't exist in one form or another. All right. All right. All right. That's it. That's it. Ooh, oh yeah. All right. All right. I appreciate that. Oh man, that was so good. War, it's always gonna happen. It's whenever you hear this show, whether it's you know right now, like tomorrow, or in a year from now, or whenever you hear this, the message, hopefully it comes loud and clear, because It's just part of nature. It's just part of life. It's just part of what a being and existence is. So hopefully that gives us a little view, a little better view of what war is all about. So all right, we're gonna wrap it up there, guys. All right, I really want to thank you guys for hanging out with us. I really do appreciate you spending time with us. I love doing this. It's my jam. And I couldn't wait to get over here. I took a little bit longer than last time, but it's cool because we are here and we dropped the bomb. So that's that, right on. All right. So if you are new, please don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button wherever you listen to us, and tell your friends and share. If you like this episode or some of the other episodes, please share. Tell your friend about us. Tell your friends about us. Also, you want to go by our YouTube and Facebook. I am on Twitter now, so all the links are in the description of the show. Then hang out with us there. You can reach out to me. Reach out to me through our socials or whatever. I'm always available. What else? That's it. I really do hope you enjoy what we're doing here, and it is a little different. And this is what I strive for, to tell these stories in a manner that others aren't doing. So, all right. In the meantime, stay safe, please, folks. Stay healthy. What else? That's it. Check back on us soon because we do not put out content every day. That's it. See you guys on the socials. Stay safe. Love you guys. Peace out, folks.
This is Thesis.